So, you want to get the most out of the internet in your classroom? Well, you're in the right place. As has become abundantly clear over the past year, teachers are in varying stages in their walk with technology. Whether you are a self-described multimedia master or are still putting laminate slides over an old school projector, this video has something for you. Cue the intro. Hello teachers, and welcome to today's show. As always, I'm Mr. Huller, and this is Mr. Huller's Headlines. Today we're going to be talking all about how to use different online resources to enhance your students' learning. And if you stick around to the end, we're going to show you some of our favorite websites and apps to do just that. Joining us today on the show via Zoom is a 4th grade elementary teacher from Little Rock, Arkansas. That's odd. Maybe he didn't...
Hey, thanks for having me. Huge fan of the show.
It appears we're having a bit of mic lag. Gotta love Zoom, am I right? Hey, can we get somebody from IT to fix this, please?
I'll get right on that, boss.
Alright, thanks. Okay, Mr. Rella, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Perfect. So, Mr. Rella, I understand you came on the show looking for help with something.
I did indeed. I've been spending so much time lately trying to find different online resources for my students to use in my class. As I'm sure my fellow teachers would agree, finding both beneficial and appropriate websites and apps for our students to use can be hard.
Tell me about it. That's even harder than getting your class to turn on their cameras during your Zoom call. Now remember, class, I'm not saying you have to turn your cameras on, but I would really appreciate it if you did. I'm assuming by the fact that none of you turned your camera on that maybe I was muted. If you didn't hear me, I said I would really appreciate it if you guys would turn your cameras on. How am I supposed to teach you if I can't see you? Kinda getting tired of talking to a bunch of black screens here. For the 47th time, would one of you please turn on your camera? Would you please turn your camera on? Turn on your camera! No way. Okay, maybe not that hard, but it really is both a difficult and important part of a teacher's job, so I'm really glad you asked about it. Today, on Mr. Huller's Headlines, we're gonna help you out. Let's head over to Rundown Ronnie to see how we're going to do that. Ronnie, over to you, my friend. Hope you're ready, Mr. Huller's Headlines fans, because Rundown Ronnie's about to hit you with this episode's rundown. First, we're going to talk about how to figure out if you can use a website or app. Next, we'll talk about determining whether you should use that website or app. Finally, we'll go over Mr. Huller's favorites to use with his own students. This has been a Mr. Huller's Headlines Rundown with Rundown Ronnie. Back to you, Mr. Huller. Thanks, Ronnie. For our first segment today, we're going to head out to our man in the field, Safety Sam. Mr. Rella, we'll come back to you a little later in the show.
Okay.
Hi.
Safety Sam, where are you right now?
You know, I'm not too sure, to be honest.
You don't know where you are?
No, not really. Our crew pulled over to make sure the woods were safe, and we got lost.
That's unfortunate. Well, are the woods at least safe?
So far, yes.
Stellar. So, Safety Sam, being that you are our expert on all things safety, I thought it fit to ask you our first question of the day. How do we know if we can use a certain website or app with our students in class?
Yes. That is a very important question that is often overlooked. The best way to make sure an online resource is safe to use in schools is to make sure that it complies with COPPA.
COPPA? What's that?
COPPA stands for the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, and it applies to children under the age of 13.
Oh, so it's pretty important then for elementary and middle school teachers to know about, right?
Exactly. COPPA's for websites and apps that either are designed for children or knowingly collect information from them.
Okay, and what exactly does this mean for those websites and apps?
Well, COPPA states that websites and apps cannot collect personal information from children without their parents' consent.
Hey, Safety Sam, I'm not saying I don't know what that means, but just in case there's somebody maybe watching this video that doesn't know what personal information is, I think you should explain it. For them, of course.
Right. On the screen now you should see a list of all the things that are considered personal information by COPPA. This includes first and last name, address, social security, and much more.
Okay, thanks. Now what were you saying about parental consent?
That if you want to use a site that would require personal information from your students, you'd have to get the consent of your parents. Or you can consent on their behalf if the website or app is solely for an educational purpose. And if you did that, you'd have to let the parents know afterward.
Oh, interesting. Is there anything else you'd like to let the teachers at home know about COPPA?
Yes, sir. Another part of COPPA is that it states a privacy policy must be displayed on the homepage or any other page where a student may sign in or register. Now, I know if you were to look through the entire thing, that'd take a really long time.
I just found the best website to use with my students. Now all I gotta do is check out the privacy policy.
One eternity later.
How long has it been? And why is my beard green?
But it's at least important to skim over the privacy policy when considering to use an app or a website in the classroom. You may find that children under the age of 13 aren't even allowed on it.
Wow, all this COPPA stuff sounds pretty complicated. Do you have any advice to make sure we're following all the rules with it?
Well, plenty of educational websites allow teachers to register and create accounts for their students. All you have to do is create login information that doesn't contain any personal information. One way you could do this would be to give them random numbers to serve as their username.
That's brilliant.
I know, but get this, there's more. Another great way to comply with COPPA is to use Google Workspace.
Was that an elephant? How lost did you get?
Very lost. Gotta go!
Well, looks like it wasn't so safe there after all. Fortunately, we just so happen to have footage of Safety Sam giving an interview to the person who created the next thing he was going to talk about. Here you go. Oh, can you tell me a little bit about Google Workspace for Education? Why, yes, I can. Essentially, Google Workspace for Education is a Google account created and managed by schools for both their teachers and students to use. It gives access to a number of different services that can enhance the classroom experience. And how much would this cost for a school to use? Nothing. There's a completely free version for educational institutions called Google Workspace for Education Fundamentals. Free? Free! Wow, that's pretty neat. So my next question is, how would schools use this to comply with COPPA? When creating accounts for their students, schools could refrain from using their name or any other piece of personal information. Then, teachers could have their students use these accounts to sign up for different websites if there's some kind of registration required. Super! And one more question. Why are you wearing a safari hat? The real question is, why aren't you? Touché. That Safety Sam sure knows how to conduct an interview. Now, let's welcome back Mr. Rella.
Hi.
Mr. Rella, why do you have a zoom filter on?
A what? I have no idea how that got there.
Hey, can we get the IT guy to fix this? Thank you. I'm getting a little tired of asking. They have one job.
Yeah, things have been pretty toxic around the office lately.
Okay, looks like it's gone now. So, Mr. Rella, do you think you have a better understanding of how to figure out what apps and websites you can use in your class?
I think so. Basically, I should try to only use websites and apps that are solely for an educational purpose. And even then, it would be best to try to avoid having to give out personal information of my students.
Exactly.
And I can use websites that allow me to create accounts for my students so long as I don't use any personal information. Or if my school has Google Workspace for Education, I can use that to comply with COPPA too.
Wow, you sure are good at this.
Thanks. Maybe good enough to take your job?
No chance. Anyways, let's head into our next segment here. Now that we've asked the question of can we use an online resource, we must ask should we? Normally, in a thing like this, you'd be given a giant list of what not to do. That is not what we're going to do here. Instead, we're going to give you some different things to think about when considering an app or a website. Joining us to talk about this is our very own Internet Isaac.
Hi.
Are you in the car right now?
Yeah, sorry about that, boss. I'm kind of stuck in a ton of traffic here, but don't worry, I sent him my slides last night, so I can still do my segment.
Alright, so, Internet Isaac.
Hey, buddy! Watch it! I'm trying to merge here!
Are you sure you're good?
Yeah, I'm fine. Why wouldn't I be?
Okay, so, Internet Isaac. What can you tell the teachers at home about choosing an online resource to use in their classroom?
Well, as teachers, we should be looking to the internet to do things we normally couldn't otherwise. The websites and apps we choose should improve the classroom experience.
That, actually sounds pretty straightforward.
That's because in theory, it kind of is. In practice, however, it can prove difficult if you're not sure what you're looking for.
And what exactly should we be looking for?
Because the ultimate goal of using online resources is to enhance our students' education, we should be looking for ones that do just that. Now, I understand that still sounds kind of broad. That's why I'm going to go over 4 different categories in which websites and apps can enhance education. Of course, these aren't the only 4 categories, but they're certainly some of the biggest.
That's a great idea.
Thanks, and you're going to help me with it too. Return to the desk. Other side.
Oh,
You're going to read the category? I'm going to explain it. Got it?
Yep. The first category is creativity.
To put it simply, will the website or app allow your students to be more creative? Here are some things to consider. Does it open up new avenues of expression that are unavailable with pencil and paper? Again, we're looking for things you couldn't do otherwise without the internet. Does it let students use multimedia? Multimedia is exactly what it sounds like. It's combining different forms of media. A very simple example of this could be a slideshow with both words and text. Does it engage students who may not be interested in traditional art forms or presentation methods? This is a huge part of it. If you can find a website or app that gets your students who wouldn't describe themselves as very artistic to be interested in creating things, then that is an absolute win.
Sure is. The next category is collaboration.
This one's all about increasing the ease with which your students can work together. For the site or app you're considering, ask yourself this. Does it allow for effective communication outside of class? This is important for teachers with students who are old enough to communicate with each other online, but not old enough to have their own cell phones. Providing them with a place to do it is a great way to foster a sense of community in your classroom. Does it help students give each other feedback on assignments and conduct peer evaluations? This is a part of teaching that can be difficult to get right. Any site or app that makes this process more appealing to students is surely a welcome one. Can it be student initiated? You don't need me to tell you can be pretty strapped for time. It's for this reason that it'd be very beneficial if this communication could be both student-initiated and student-driven.
Don't even get me started about time. I'm always grading assignments or working on my next lesson. Look at me, I'm ranting. I apologize. The next category is learning.
No! Out of gas. One of the big draws of using the internet in the classroom is the potential to make learning more appealing to students. Does it present material in a more appealing way than traditional methods? This could be finding a more engaging way to give your students information than just speaking to them or showing them a PowerPoint. Does it involve gamification? As the word suggests, gamification in education is simply making learning into a game. Kids love games, so why not give it a shot? Maybe start by turning that next formative assessment into a trivia game instead. Is it something students could use to learn independently? This will definitely help you out in the likely event that a student in your class will need some extra help. Also, learning games can be a great way for children to continue learning at home.
Those are some great ideas. Now, the fourth and final category is management. Where are you?
I'm walking to grab some gas for my car. Just like cars need gas, classrooms need effective management. Here are some things to consider.
Does the website or app help you manage your classroom more efficiently than you would otherwise without it?
This is pretty self-explanatory. It's a great thing if an online resource can help you cut down on the many tedious parts of your job as a teacher.
Does it allow your students' parents to be more informed and involved?
Even better, does it provide them with a place to go for information before immediately coming to you?
Does it help students keep track of their work better?
A class website could be much more effective than a paper planner.
You sure know your stuff.
Thanks, boss. And one more thing. As teachers, we should never use websites and apps that are unnecessarily hard to use. If we're not comfortable using them ourselves, then it wouldn't be fair of us to expect our students to be comfortable using them either.
Great point. Thanks for sharing the internet, Isaac, and best of luck with your car troubles. Now, one last time, let's welcome back Mr. Rella.
Hello there.
Phew. You don't know how relieved I am that you aren't having any more Zoom problems. You gotta be kidding me.
Gotcha.
How much longer is the show? Okay. So, Mr. Rella, did you find what Internet Isaac said to be helpful?
Extremely. He gave me a lot of great advice that I'll be sure to use in my classroom. In fact, everyone on the show has, except for you.
What are you talking about?
Well, you have everyone else explain the information while you just sit there and do the easy part. I'm starting to wonder if you know anything about picking online resources yourself.
I know plenty about that.
Oh yeah? Prove it.
I will. Mr. Rella, did you receive that letter I sent to you in the mail?
Yes.
Open it up. Inside, you'll find the master list of websites and apps that all teachers should use in their classrooms with their students.
Now we're talking. It's blank.
Exactly. There isn't any definitive set of apps and websites that all teachers should use. After all, we all have varying skill sets, students, and circumstances. Just as there's not a single teaching philosophy that works for all students, there isn't a single online resource that works best for all of them too.
You know, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Instead, I'm going to tell you my favorite online resource for each of Internet Isaac's categories, as well as some honorable mentions. If you'd like, you can check them out to see if you'd want to use them in your classroom.
Awesome.
First, however, I'd like to mention Google Workspace for Education one more time. If your school has it, it's a great place to start. I like to call it a gateway technology for teachers. It's exceptionally beneficial in the way it promotes collaboration, and it's really easy to learn how to use.
Be honest. Did Google sponsor you?
I wish, but no. I just think they offer some great online resources for all teachers to use, no matter how tech savvy they are.
Right.
Now, let's dive into Mr. Huller's favorites. First, for creativity, we have Glogster.
With Glogster, you can create some awesome multimedia posters right on your computer. You can set a background, add text, images, videos, and even audio files. Using Glogster could be a great way for both you and your students to create a more interesting and engaging presentation. Here are some other online resources that help with creativity that I really like, and I think you might too. I'll be including a link for all of these down in the description.
For a great way to promote collaboration, there's Edmodo.
With Edmodo, it's almost like you're getting a social media platform for your classroom that you can run yourself. You can start class discussions, you can create assignments, or you could even make polls for your students, like this. You can also break up your students and put them into smaller groups where you can either put discussion topics for them, or they can post their own things in there, like these. Here are some other resources I really like for collaboration both inside and outside the classroom.
For learning, we have one of my all-time favorite online resources. It's so awesome that chances are you've probably heard of it. I'm talking about Kahoot.
With Kahoot, you have access to tons of pre-made trivia games. Or you could make your own to play with your students in class. Once everyone's joined in, you're ready to go, and it's as easy as that. Then you can review some material in a really fun way. Oh hey, I know this one! It even lets you see who answers what, so you can see what you have to go over again. Here are some other great resources to make learning a little bit more fun.
Finally, there's a way to make the normally mundane process of classroom management into something fun. It's none other than Classcraft.
Of the dozens of websites I looked over to make this video, this was by far the most unique. It allows you to create avatars for all your different students as you manage your classroom. You can reward them with experience or gold for doing something good, and they can use them to get their avatar new powers or outfits. You can also take away health points from their avatar if they do something wrong. Doesn't this seem a whole lot cooler than just having your students flip their cards? And of course, here are my honorable mentions for classroom management.
Wow, these all seem great.
I think so, yeah. But remember, a website or app that works with one teacher and their students might not work for another, and that's okay. There are plenty of online resources out there, and now that you know how to determine if you can use them and if you should use them, I am confident in your ability to really up your internet game in your classroom. For all of us here at Mr. Huller's Headlines, I'm Mr. Huller. You stay classy, teachers.